I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners for April 16th, 2013. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Jeremy McWhorter, who will be providing our invocation tonight. Dr. McWhorter, I invite you to come up. Thank you.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you for this community. We thank you for allowing us to gather together here, Lord. Father, we ask that you be with all of our community leaders here, Father. We ask that you be with the leaders of our state and our country, Lord. Help us just to turn this nation back to you and remember what's important. Father, we thank you most of all for your Son and the salvation that only he can provide. We ask that you be with those, Father, that don't know you, don't know that peace that you give. Heavenly Father, we just ask that you continue to be with us, be with our community, help us to grow, lead, guide, and direct this commission, Lord. Lead, guide, and direct our lives. And we just ask all of this in your Son, Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Williams will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. McWhorter. And that's Faith Missionary Baptist Church, is that correct? Thank you for coming. Ms. Schaller, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waltrip?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Denning?
Here.
Commissioner Hill? Here. Mayor Wilkerson?
Here. If you'll allow me just to make just a little different on the agenda, we want to do awards and recognitions first, if you don't care. Quentin, would you have something for Operation Pride?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me see if I can get this plugged in.
While Quentin Hughes from Operation Pride is getting that together under awards and recognitions, I'd like to make a couple announcements that Bowling Green Fire Chief Greg Johnson has made the Bowling Green High School Alumni Association Hall of Fame. We want to wish him well, and oh yes, Miss Cheryl Allen, who's present tonight, also is on that list from Community Action of Southern Kentucky. And then somebody named Thomas Hill was the Gary Force Toyota Scholarship Athlete of the Month. Congratulations for Thomas. Thank you. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, senior staff, City of Bowling Green. Quentin Hughes with Operation Pride, and it brings a great pleasure to me to bring our April Commercial Property Award recognition tonight. Let's see. And it's the Southern Kentucky Pie, Inc., now operating business as Mellow Mushroom. This is the before picture at 1035 Chestnut. It's the old Faxton building at the corner of 11th and Chestnut. Building's been kind of an icon and historical place within Bowling Green for quite some time. And this is the after of the front of the business. And again, you can see the deterioration and the level of work that they went to renovate this facility. This is the rear picture taken at 1035 Chestnut. And this is what the rear of the entrance looks like now. Very impressive transition, and I believe Robert Holderfield and his wife are here tonight to receive the award. Gotta get the woman involved.
Congratulations to both of you. Not only is it a great place to view, it's an awfully great place to eat, too.
Yes, it is.
My two words are mighty meaty.
Yes.
The mayor's special. Oh, yes. Great people.
I don't have to order. I walk in the door, they start making it. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any other awards or recognitions? If not, let's go into the public hearing. that we have on schedule. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive comments about the annual action plan draft for year 10 of the Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program. Mr. Febo.
Yes, I'll defer to Brent Childers, who will give you an overview of the Year 10 Community Development Block Grant Program that he has worked out with staff and with an advisory group. Brent?
Thank you, Mr. DeFebo, Mayor, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight to talk about the CDBG program. I think that this makes number 8 public hearing for me in my 3 years of being here. And over that 3 years, this year is no different. Our funding has been cut again. So that's become kind of normal for us now, just operating with less funding than we did the year before and trying to do the best that we can. HUD uses, as part of the CDBG program, a formula to calculate how much money everybody gets. Congress gives them the big pot of money, then HUD uses a formula with all these factors factored into it to divvy out the pieces of the pie. So our piece of the pie has been smaller and smaller each year just because of Congress's allocation. These are the factors, and as things change, as each of these factors change, our local conditions change. Last year, we only received a 3% cut because our population numbers had increased so much and some other factors that went in there, whereas you go to a city like Louisville, they received an 18% cut. So each of these is going to change city by city based on these factors. 5 years ago, we stood before you, or I did not, someone else did, to recommend a consolidated plan. That is a 5-year plan. That sets out the priorities for the Community Development Block Grant Program. It doesn't say where you're going to spend your money. It says what your priorities are in spending. This is going to be the last year of that consolidated plan. After this is done, I'll start working on the next consolidated plan and hope to have it to you all December, January this year, or January 2014 to get all that completed so that we can start the annual action plan again in January to be back here a year from now. And the whole part of that process has citizen participation. That's what we're here for tonight, is to gain citizen input, to give the public an opportunity to comment on how we're going to allocate these funds and how we're going to use these resources. There are 3 national objectives as part of the CDBG program. Benefit to low to moderate income individuals, that's 80% of the area median income. That number changes each year because income levels change each year, but this is a HUD rule for CDBG. Whenever you look at some other programs, you might see poverty lines or 50%. Our Housing Choice Voucher program is a 50% area median income. CDBG is an 80%. So it hits another target range in there that some of the other programs don't offer services to. This is where 95% of our funds go, is to the benefit to low to moderate income persons. Number 2 would be preventing slum or blight. That's what we used to use some of the state money for whenever we did Lee Square, Circus Square, some of the projects that we did several years ago before we were an entitlement community. And that's where you're removing blighted structures and redeveloping properties. The last one is the urgent community development need. This must be tied to a presidentially declared disaster, and it's very rare for us to use this one. I think we have, but I think it was in the late 90s. We got some disaster recovery money. So this one's very rare for us to use this one. And as I talked about the citizen participation process, we had a public hearing in January to start the annual action plan. And now here we are in April, having one to actually announce the projects as we move forward. After we finish the first public hearing, we go into an agency application process. Whenever we did the consolidated plan several years ago, we elected to use an agency application, whereby our local organizations apply to the city for funding to carry out the priorities of the consolidated plan. And we're still continuing that through this annual action plan. They have about 30 days to write their applications, get them back to us. I do a technical review to make sure that they're eligible, to make sure that they meet all the requirements. And then we have a 5-person citizen committee that reviews those, meets with all the applicants. Takes about 20 minutes, a lot of questions, answers, and go over everything, and then that committee actually makes the recommendation to me. I take that recommendation, draft the plan, and now I'm presenting that plan to you all. Well, the plan will actually be presented in May. It's out for public comment right now. We'll be receiving comments until April 26th, so if anybody has any comments that they would like to make, they can make them this evening. They can write me, they can email me. I don't think I have my cell phone number on there, so they can't text me, but any way that they want to give me comments, we'll be more than happy to take them. Talked about coming back the next meeting for the actual approval of the plan. After that, we'll submit it to HUD, the Louisville office, so that they can approve it and review it. Then we'll actually start implementation in July, and the first step in that is the environmental review process, and then we'll actually begin implementation of the programs. Some will start in July, some might not start till September or October, just depending on how much time it takes for the environmental review. And then will carry us out to next June, where this action plan will actually be finished. So now it's time to talk about the projects. Now we're talking about the money. The Welfare Center, this is, I think, their 4th year of funding. They're supposed to get $20,000, and these are recommended numbers for rental or utility assistance one time to assist LMI families. Expect to serve about 133 people. Human Rights Commission, $25,240 to assist in their fair housing outreach and marketing. They do this through newsletters, workshops with apartment complexes, property managers, landlords, and also handling discrimination complaints, walk-ins, phone calls, things like that. They expect to serve about 1,500 individuals.
What did they get last year?
Last year, I think, was 30,000. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I think it was somewhere in that 30,000 range. WKU Research Foundation, $20,000 for GED ESL classes, and these will be primarily marketed to Spanish-speaking individuals that are illiterate in English. They expect to serve 75 persons. Habitat for Humanity. This one is a little unique. This one was actually funded last year, but due to some regulation issues, we had to cancel that agreement. We held the funding for that period of time, and they came back and reapplied in January and were re-awarded from last year's pool. So this is actually a year 9 funding that is going to be used to pay for this. So if you actually went through and added up all the totals, they didn't add up to the amount I said we were going to get. This is why. So we're going to be actually redoing that same agreement. We came back and now they're actually going to do a little bit of a different project. It's still the same overall development, but instead of working on one end, now they're going to start on the other end, so it is a little bit different. Expect to have 8 homes initially, and upon full development, about 35 to 40 homes. And this is a green infrastructure project over in the Durbin Estates area off Glen Lily Road.
This is the one that's supposed to be a little green. It's like a green project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they've received some money from the Kentucky Division of Water to handle a lot of the pre-site work and stormwater. What we're actually paying for is streets, sidewalks, utilities, all the upfront hard development costs, and then they'll come in and build homes with their own programs. So we're not building any homes, we're just putting in the development cost outside of stormwater.
So who's going to be, are we going to be responsible for the watershed? We had this discussion a year or two ago, and we have tremendous water problems out there. Is what we're going to do here going to take care of that?
I think the work that they've done outside of our funding will take care of that. The money that they got from DOW, they've installed quite a bit of stormwater protection and regraded that whole area. There was a ditch line that runs from Glen Lily that was starting to take out somebody's backyard right there across from the old school, and they're rebuilding all that. They've got a creek bed built through there and a vernal pond to capture all that. And then a lot of their plantings that they're putting back in there are helping absorb water at a faster rate. So it's part of that green infrastructure style of development. So most of that work is being done with their DOW money. We're actually coming in with the street, sidewalk, utility part of that next phase. So then after that's completed, then they can start building houses. Any other questions on this project before I move forward? The Housing Authority, this is a continuation of our small business technical training and technical assistance program. This is through their partnership with WKU and the Small Business Development Center. Another $50,000. They expect to serve 100 individuals, 18 businesses, and create 5 new jobs. Community Action of Southern Kentucky is for the child care services, $30,000. They expect to serve approximately 250 people. Additionally, for Community Action, this one is for the transit system, which you all are familiar that the city is very much involved in, with them being our contract agency for transit services. This would be to install 2 FTA-approved bus shelters, and I want to make sure you understand that these have to be built to FTA standards. This is not just a couple of 4x4s and plywood out there. FTA has certain design criteria that has to be met, and that's why the expense is so great. We're estimating about $35,000 for each, and that's just for the pad and the shelter itself. The land, we don't expect to have any land acquisition costs. This is just for installation and construction of those. The two that were selected were Loop Drive, and then this came up on one of the strolls that we were on last year. And then the other one would be at State Street to help serve the public library, and that would also give them an ADA accessible stop there at the public library. And the public library serves a variety of functions to a lot of people. It's the computer lab, it's the research lab, it's where you go to get a lot of services. We felt that this was very important to make that as accessible as possible.
Do we have any idea, and I know we have some representatives from Community Action in the audience, but do we have any idea what these are going to look like? I mean, they're...
Ken could probably answer that better unless he wants me to answer it and take a guess at it, but...
They are what we have now that are in the community is what we hope, well, we'll have to go out to bid on the shelters. With being FTA and with HUD, it does have to be bid. But we have 8 of these throughout the community. I've got a photo somewhere with me. But they are an aluminum, and it's a reinforced type glass structure. I just brought one, but this is one of our existing shelters. And this includes the drainage, the concrete pad with the ADA access pad. The access pad is for loading and unloading wheelchairs from a wheelchair lift or ramp-equipped bus. And they are anodized aluminum that does not have to be painted. They're a no-maintenance type structure, hopefully, when they're put in. And it's a break-resistant glass, a safety-type plexiglass that will hold up to high winds. So if someone does take refuge, they'll be safe in it during the storm.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty classy-looking structure. I just want to make sure that we're not considering at any point ever selling advertising or anything on those.
Not at this moment. Some communities do sell advertising at the shelters, but when they do, it is on a separate arm that comes up that has a illuminated glass-clad movie poster type advertising. In Bowling Green, currently, we are prohibited by city ordinance from off-site advertising sales. Okay. It is a revenue stream that a lot of transits use, and the transits that use them work with a advertising agency. They bid it out, and then the agency provides the shelters to the community, has them on a replacement standard where X number of years they replace the shelters. They clean them, maintain them, illuminate them, and put a portion of the funding from the advertising back into the transit. So at this time, we are prohibited by local ordinance from advertising. So as of the moment, no, we cannot.
Okay.
And I would say just, Rick and I have not talked about this obviously, but I have talked with Ken before about the possibility of modifying that ordinance to allow advertising just for the reasons you stated. So I guess we'll have some discussions about that maybe in the future.
Well, it's something we're constantly looking at, other revenue streams to permit us to provide additional service, more routes, more frequency, better service, and where we can obtain the revenue sources for it. And that is one revenue source that other transits are using.
Yeah, we just have to be careful not to create eyesores.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They're very limited. It's strictly at the shelter the way it's approached, but at this time we can't consider any of it due to local ordinance.
And I obviously agree with Rick on that aspect of it.
And we've got beautiful shelters. We don't want them looking ugly.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments as it relates to the shelters? The Boys and Girls Club, $22,360, and this is to renovate their kitchen facilities at their center on, I'm going to get the address wrong, I think Double Springs. Scott, thank you. Over on Scott. So this would be an interior renovation because to help serve the youth that they provide the services to during after school and also during summer school break times. Family Enrichment Center, $100,000. This will be used to purchase a building to consolidate their offices. Currently, they have a office building on Church and then one on Broadway, and this will help them consolidate those offices and also expand their services to more people. Live the Dream Development. This is a subset organization of the Housing Authority. $89,600 for rental conversion. They will purchase 2 homes. They're looking in the EC, but they're not bound in the EC, that are rentals or potential to become rentals. They will buy them with their own funds. CDBG funds will be used to go in and renovate the homes, and then they will sell them to a qualified family. So we expect to get 2 homes out of this. We had done this program several years ago. It was very successful. And then the Housing Authority received quite a bit of NSP, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program funding, and that really took their attention because I think it was about $2 million that they got there. So now they've completed that project, and I was glad to hear that we're going to start this rental conversion back up. Administration, this pays for the general overhead and cost to run the program. We're eligible to use up to 20%. We're using 14.6% for our administrative expenses. And our expected funding level for 2014 is $471,000. I have not received my award letter from HUD yet. What I have gotten after the sequestration, I think the mayor got a copy of it also, was a letter saying that you are going to be reduced by 5.1%. So our number could fluctuate up or down $500 to $1,000 off this 471. So until we know that, then I can't really dial in the exact amounts. And the organizations are aware of that, and they understand how this process works, that these things might change a little bit as we move forward. Like I said, if anybody has any comments tonight, I'll open the floor. If anybody wants to write or provide comments later, they have until April 26th. All my contact information is here. The copy of the action plan is on our website if anybody wants to review it. If there's any comments tonight.
Any questions from the board? Open this at this time for public comments. If anybody would like to make a comment regarding this public hearing, now's the time. Please raise your hand. Seeing no hands, are there anything else, Mr. Childers?
No, I'd ask that you close the public hearing. Thank you, sir.
We'll conclude this hearing and can go on with our agenda. Thank you, Mr. Dale. Appreciate it. Mr. DeFebo, do you have any city manager comments?
Mayor, you reminded us we needed to have an executive session, one for proposed litigation, a second for economic development.
Pursuant to KRS 61810C for discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the city, and KRS 61810G, discussions between the city and a representative of a business entity and discussions concerning a specific proposal if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Anything else, Mr. DeFebo?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, the first item is approval of minutes from the regular meeting on April 2nd, 2013.
Move to approve.
Motion by Williams,
Second.
second by Waltrip. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Abstain.
Wilkerson?
Yes. We have an opportunity for public comments at this point in our agenda. If there's someone that would like to make a comment about an issue or an item that is not on tonight's agenda, we would invite you to come to the microphone at this time. Seeing no one, we'll continue with the second reading of Ordinance BG 2013, number 5.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning 2 tracts of land containing 7.1912 acres from RS1A single-family residential to PUD planned unit development located at 2922 Small House Road, presently owned by Small House Road Partners, LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Denning and second by Waltrip. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Abstain again to the business conflict. Next item is second reading of Ordinance 2013, number 6.
Ordinance annexing property by consent. Ordinance annexing 56.96 acres of property located at 1777 Glasgow Road and 164 Fred Madison Road, with property presently owned by the Intermodal Transportation Authority, Incorporated, and 1.35 acres of right-of-way located on Mitzpaul Road for a total of 58.31 acres, and said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip, second by Williams. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-54.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Deidre J. Costa to the position of Communications Dispatcher in the Police Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Waltrip. Mr. DeFebo.
Thank you, Mayor. The position of dispatcher is a difficult job, and we have a good deal of turnover in that position. Tonight we're here to ask you to appoint Deidre Costa to this position. She currently works for us as a cadet. We're in the procurement process of filling a list that will take a good bit of time, and we need the help now, and Deidre and her supervisors have agreed to allow her to compete for this job. She's already went through the background check, and Melissa Carter is here if you have any questions about the nuance of why and how, but we're essentially moving Deidre up from her role as a cadet to help us as a probationary communication dispatcher. I believe that Deidre's here.
Ann will be standing up so we can identify her. Congratulations.
Melissa, does she know her 10 forwards? Yes. Okay. That's the main thing.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes, and congratulations again. Municipal Order 2013-55.
Municipal order approving the career path advancement of Matthew S. Johnson to the position of Equipment Technician Master in the Public Works Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Denning. Mr. DeFebo.
Yeah, I would ask Jeff Lashley to come forward and put his promotion into consideration by the commission.
Thank you, Mr. DeFebo. Matt Johnson came to work with the City of Bowling Green in July of '07, and he started out with the Operations Division. Matt had decided to take a job with Fleet. I think that worked out very well for him. I think it worked out very well for us. If you think about it, we have a guy who's used to being around the equipment, running the equipment, that kind of stuff. Now he's working on the equipment. So it worked out very well for both of us. And gave us a good edge in working on that type of equipment. According to his supervisors, Matt's a great team player. He's willing to do what's asked, eager to learn. And what I know of Matt, he's the kind of guy, if you give him an assignment, he'll just quietly go get it done, get it knocked out, and take care of it. So now with the career advancement program, there's a series of tests that an equipment technician must pass. And these are ASE certified exams. Now, Matt, you have to have 2 years of service before you can sit for these exams. And Matt had several years or the 2.5 years he's been with Fleet to study for those exams. And I think Matt really applied himself during that time. He really took to learning what's required and gaining more skills at the work that he's done. When he got to take his test, he passed 6 of the exams, so that qualifies him for a master ASE technician. And Matt's a great employee, and I'm honored to make this recommendation for his promotion. And Matt is here, along with Barry Harris, the fleet supervisor.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I know I'm going to jump the gun on this, and y'all fuss at me. We'll find out officially in June. But I want to read something to you from Tom Johnson on an application that Barry Harris and his whole crew down at Fleet did. They've applied to be acknowledged as one of the 100 best fleet operations, public fleet managers among 38,000 in the United States. If you'll let me read this just a second. Dear Barry, I want to sincerely thank you for the time and effort you put into your application. It was excellent. I'm so proud to know you. I only wish every taxpayer, certainly all 38,000 public fleet managers, could read the applications. They contain some of the most innovative and creative best practices in government today. We sent applications to over 19,000 public fleet managers. You're leading by example. What more could your customers and the country ask of you? especially in light of the economic issues. We need to shine a light on the positive public service more than ever. And we will find out where on that top 100 list we will get in June, but we want to acknowledge what a great job that you've done. Congratulations. I know I jumped the gun, Mr. Febo. Sorry. Please call the roll.
That's okay. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again in June.
All right. Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-56.
Municipal order approving the reappointments of Christy Pruitt and Scott Gary to the Bowling Green Audit Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Denning and second by Hill. This is a reappointment of individuals who have served the last couple of years with Mr. Denning.
I have the pleasure of serving with them. They are good folks.
Good folks. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-57.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2013-06 for a physical access control system from X7 Systems Integration of Louisville, Kentucky in an amount not to exceed $92,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
At our yearly retreat, we broached the idea of how to improve physical security for the City Hall campus and for other buildings that we own and occupy for our staff. We've had a couple edged approach. Tonight, one of the edges of that approach is to look at access control, who can come into our building. This would allow us to put what are basically readers on certain doors to allow access only to employees who have a fob, and the other people would be let in by someone within the system. We're also looking at, Mr. Denning has asked for the idea of some ballistic glass in certain tactical areas, as well as in Municipal Order number 7, we're going to be looking at doing a larger rehabilitation of 2 critical areas of the city. But tonight we're here to just do the fob part. I know there's been some questions about how the bid was calculated. We had 7 bidders. It was determined that 6 of those met specs, and the lowest one to meet specs was X7. Gene Harmon will explain one change or condition made in that bid.
And we also have, guess what, Lynn and Maryland can jump in and respond as well. But I think during the course of evaluating this, I need to make sure and clarify that this was an RFP, wasn't a low bid. This was a request for proposal. And evaluating the responses to that request, this bidder, or this responder, I think at one point the bid asked for, the proposal asked for each person to give basically a top number, a one number of what this is going to cost. This one did that in most cases, but it came back to some labor issues. They came in and gave an hourly rate for their labor, and didn't at that point didn't say which going to be 2 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. When it came to me, they asked. The question presented to me was, do we have the ability to go back to that responder and ask them to clarify their bid, to actually put not dollars, but put hours to those dollar amounts? My review of the Kentucky Model Procurement Code. We have a little bit of discretion. We don't. It's supposed to be. People can't ignore the basic stuff and do that. Like Kevin said, it was one that didn't meet specs that was tossed out of this one. But we do have the ability, I think, to look at mere informalities, technicalities. Try to particularly clarifications. And when they came and asked me about this one, I consider that to be a clarification. They had everything in it. They met specs. The only thing they did in one section, instead of saying, well, labor was, and I'll make up a number, $2,000, they said, well, our labor is $85 an hour. So I said, the question posed to me, can we now go back and ask them to give us the hours? And I said, my response was yes. To let them clarify the bid. They went back. And don't forget this again, on low bid, the numbers were not given out when it was open. We don't give out numbers on RFPs. So everybody knew the numbers. They didn't know the numbers anybody else had presented. So the answer, from at least my opinion, was yes, we have the ability to ask them to clarify their bid, to actually provide the number of hours they expect in each one of those labor categories. They gave those hours, we multiply it out by the hourly rate they gave it, add that, into their bid, and they end up being the low bidder for this.
Yes, sir.
As you know, I'm a little confused about this. When we receive the request, or the proposal, I should say, or the bid, we receive it, we stamp it on the date it's received and the time, I assume.
Yes. And we open them all at the same time.
And we open them all at the same time. Now, the other bidders submitted their packet in the form or the format that we asked for. They rounded their figures all the way out, let's say. This company did not. Their bid document was not filled out properly. But the other people's document was filled out properly. They went out to their unit prices and so on. How or why do we, as the receiver of the bids, why do we have to call a company and ask them for clarifications when we've got other bids here who has followed the instruction apparently of the bid document in unit prices and so on? I get confused about that. I really do. It would appear to me that when we receive the bid and we stamp it, those are the bids. And if old Joe Denton's bid is not complete, he didn't put his unit prices on there, and everybody else did, that bid, to me, shouldn't be accepted.
Well, let me clarify a couple things. I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. This was an RFP and not a low bid. I don't think it's unusual for us on RFPs to go back to, particularly because of the nature of RFPs, it's not as simple as a low bid. A lot of times there's evaluation processes taking place. I don't think it's unusual for us to go back to bidders or responders, maybe responders is a better word, in RFP process and ask them to give us clarification of some of their responses. This isn't a simple low bid for, we got cars tonight. This isn't a simple low bid for a vehicle. This is an RFP. It's a lot more technical issue than buying, some commodity or some good. You're right. Everybody should be a responsible and responsive bidder when they come in. And the question is, was this one responsive? In my opinion, I think the city has some discretion in awarding the bids. And again, remember, the ultimate best thing, I guess, we're looking at is what's the best deal for the city. I mean, that's what we're trying to come up with. What's the best deal for the city? And when they came to me and asked me that question, I went and looked at the RFP. I looked at this response. I talked to Lynn in Maryland, and based upon what I thought was my opinion, and it's the opinion way it was worth, was I thought under the statutes and under the cases they interpret the statutes that did not, in my mind, make that a non-responsive bidder or non-responsive responder, and that we had the ability and the authority to ask them to clarify their bid by basically just giving us hours. That's it. We didn't change our numbers. They had numbers in there and said, oh, by the way, these 4 or 5 categories of labor, it's $85 an hour. The only thing we asked them to do was now give us your hours. Give us the hours it's going to take to perform that work. Then we can fill in that, 10 hours by $85 an hour or whatever it was and come up with that number. The only thing that asked me was if we have the ability, I think, to clarify that issue. And I think under the statutes and under the policies and the case law here in Kentucky, we did.
And certainly, I know legally you know what you're talking about, but I just think that it puts a sour taste in individuals, whether it's a request for a proposal or whether it's a bid out there in the world that may consider or may want to bid on items for us. It just bothers me that we call someone and, hey, you didn't put your unit price on this document. What is it? I'll put it down for you. We've got a trial that's going on television right now where a person was being evaluated, and the psychologist put the figures down or put the information down. It just doesn't smell right to me.
Any comments or questions? Make sure everybody has an opportunity. If I do have one quick question. All the other bids, their figures are a maximum figure as well. Is that correct?
My understanding is, I think everybody else gave us a bottom line figure.
And the number of hours that this bidder has estimated is the total number of hours we're going to pay him for, no matter how many hours he works.
Yeah, unless I guess something totally unusual comes up that nobody expects, that we would have changed change order for anybody else. But I can't see change orders in something like this. It's not like construction where they may hit rock out there that nobody anticipated. But but you're right. Right now we have a firm figure from them.
Yes, ma'am.
How are these companies notified of the RFP?
I can't tell you that one. I'll defer that question to somebody else. I'll pass the buck on that one.
And this is Lynn Hartley from our IT department.
Marilyn can probably answer this better, but basically it's like any other bid. They are posted on the website. We have a bidder list that Marilyn, I believe you emailed those, is that correct? Or you sent, well, anyhow, there's, on our website, the bidders are notified that they can sign up. Basically, there's categories that they can pick and choose what type of bids that they will get a notification of. And so as soon as it's posted on the website, they automatically get a notification. They don't have to wait for a package to come in the mail or anything like that. They can download it from our website. So that's how the majority of them get that. So.
And so in this packet that we have, these 62 companies have signed up on our website?
Yes. And quite a few more actually, but that's what I mean.
Okay, thank you.
Download it.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. The 62 people on this list opened the bid packet, whether or not they submitted a bid, but they opened and reviewed whether or not they wanted to bid.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-58.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2013-28 for professional architectural and engineering services for the renovation of the Neighborhood and Community Services Building and City Hall Annex from Clements and Associates Architecture of Bowling Green, Kentucky in the total amount of $75,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. At our retreat, our annual retreat, we talked about the need to provide additional safe space for a number of departments. This starts the process with us procuring engineering and architectural services to affect the rehabilitation of 707 East Main Street, a building that we purchased 4 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And also to affect the rehabilitation of part of the annex, especially IT. It will result eventually in neighborhood and community service moving up to 707 East Main Street. Mr. Harmon relocating from his rental space to the annex, as well as us expanding our much needed IT space. We have, as you remember, we had an architectural class from WKU at no cost to us, provide the initial vision for what we wanted to do. We sunshined that to you. We did a value engineering with Jeff, net cost, net value? Net present value, thank you. And we're here tonight to start the process that was approved by your will during retreat. We had 7 bidders, or 7 respondents. It was a qualified bid with a number of criteria. The local architects, Clements and Associate, was the best and lowest bid.
Any questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-59.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2013-31 for the purchase of vehicles for the police, neighborhood and community services, and administration departments from various vendors in the total amount of $161,660.65.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Mr. DeFebo.
Thank you, Mayor. We're here tonight to ask the Commission's approval to purchase a number of vehicles for various departments. It's important to note, especially in the case of non-public safety vehicles, this is the first time in my memory that we have bought a sedan type vehicle for any department other than a public safety department, and since 2005. So this is the first purchase of a vehicle other than a trade we made, I think, in 2006. We went out to a bid using the website, as Lynn intimated. We had a number of respondents. We broke that bid down into 5 different groupings, and we've had, I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different, 3 different respondents secure the low bid. One is a purchase of a vehicle for a 2-wheel drive vehicle for neighborhood and community services, a minivan for the pool vehicle. This was created, a number of you went to Frankfurt for a conference, and the vehicle was deemed to be not good. So we didn't forget that and found the money to purchase this vehicle so that we could have, we all can have a decent vehicle to travel away from Bowling Green for business. The other one is a full-size van, and then a couple of 4 sedans for the police department, and a police cadet. I know you have a number of questions. Katie has put together a response to Mr. Williams' concern. We asked Marilyn Perrigan to be here to illustrate how we went about this process. I don't know if you would want to ask the questions and we can respond, or how you would like to do that.
Ask the questions.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I might just start out by saying that when I was reviewing what was coming up on the agenda for this evening, this caught my eye, and I was concerned as to who won these various bids. I'll not hide the fact that I work in this particular industry, and I was more curious than anything else, because we don't sell police-style vehicles where I work at Jim Johnson, but I did want to know what was going on with this particular thing. I was a little bit taken aback by the fact that we had no local bidders for any of these vehicles. None of the car dealerships that are located within Warren County had even submitted a bid for any of these vehicles. So I started doing some investigation as to exactly how we go about our bid process, and found out that what we do complies with the law, and we post these items for bid on our website. Now, with that said, I'm not saying that we have a flawed process, but I think we have a process that a lot of people evidently are not familiar with, or it hasn't been revisited for some time. And I want to thank Katie for putting together the information that she's put together. It shed a lot of light on, what's been done in the past and how we go about these things. But I do want to make sure that going forward, we do everything possible to encourage local bidders, not just for vehicles, but if we're bidding televisions or if we're bidding computer equipment or whatever, there has to be better communication about how to go about that process and how to be involved in that process. And that too is without spending a lot of money uselessly on postage to mail out large big bid packets, or to make outgoing phone calls, because I don't think we can be involved in this process. We have to keep that at arm's length. But we must continuously, I like to use the analogy, you paint the house one time and you're done. No, every once in a while you got to paint the house again. So I think that, and I know I've talked to several of the local car dealers about this since it's happened. They say they may have formerly been on a list, but they haven't seen anything in quite some time, and they were not aware of it. So maybe this needs to be corrected going forward.
Ms. Hill.
Like Mr. Williams, after receiving Katie's information, I made calls to our car dealerships here in Bowling Green. It was not positive conversations. I'm very disappointed as a city employee that I had to answer these businesses' questions and that they did not know about it. I was informed there's a lot of turnover in these companies. Someone might have known at one point, but they didn't know now. But my biggest concern looking at this, did it just not raise at least an eyebrow to anyone in our city government or staff that out of these 27 companies, only 5 of them are even Bowling Green companies, and there's only 1 car dealership? I'm sorry, that should have sent up a red flag. We only have 1 dealership, car dealership on here, on this list that's in our packet. The other, we had 2 truck companies, 1 bank. Don't understand why a bank gets a car bid, but that's okay. And 1 equipment company. These businesses pay city taxes. They try to keep dollars locally, and I believe it's real important for us as City of Bowling Green to keep our dollars local as well. Jean, I would like to know legally, is there anything, can we vote not to accept these bids?
There's no requirement for you to accept this bid tonight. I mean, we put the bid out. This is a low bid. The bid process says that we have the right to reject these bids in total for any reason. So the answer to your question is, can you reject these tonight? Yes, you can. I would tell you, like I said, they do comply with statute. They comply with our policies. But
and I appreciate that. And if these companies come back and they're our lowest bid, I have no problem. But the fact that our local companies, for whatever reason, did not know about this, and we haven't had a bid for cars that some of them could bid on since 2009, 10. Why would they keep checking our website? So I'm concerned about this.
I too am concerned about it. What was the process we used? I know we change policies every time we meet of some kind. What was the policy we had when we got the last police cars, when Commissioner Nash had the City Commission to vote on giving preference to local dealers? What process did we have then as far as advertising for cars? Because everybody in Bowling Green and car dealerships in Bowling Green and own dealerships other places bid on the cars.
Our last vehicle bid for something other than just straight patrol vehicles, it was a bid that included patrol vehicles and a bid that included standard administrative police vehicles, was in 2009. And that was the time we had started the transition to the internet posting as our notification for bid process. We had actually started that in June. This bid went out in August of 2009. And in that process, because we were in transition, we had posted the bid on our website. We also mailed to, I believe it was 17 dealers, some local, some not local. We sent out the bid documents to them, informed them of the change in our process, that if they, moving forward, we would be using the internet for posting of our bids. If they had any questions, certainly to contact us. We did not advertise in the newspaper, but we did post it on the internet, which was acceptable through our policies. But we did send out copies, the actual bid packets, to several vendors. Included in that were Greenwood Ford, Campbell Chevrolet, and Martin Dodge. Those were local dealers that we did send to, along with several other dealers that had requested in the past to be on our bidders list. So we notified them because they had requested to be notified. But again, that was right in the transition phase. About 6 more months, we continued to notify bidders of the process of the change. We did do advertisements in the newspaper at that time for several other bids, again referring to the website as the source for information. I hope that answers your question, but we did a dual process at that point, knowing that we were in the middle of that transition.
Who bid?
Well, I agree with Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Williams. Here's the thing about it. We give our local bidders an opportunity to have a preference. And they can't have a preference if they don't know that there's a bid to bid on the cars.
We don't share totally in that responsibility, Joe.
Well, I'm just saying, let's do something different. Apparently, this is a concern. Here's what I think we should do. And it's simple. We get so concerned about something costs $1 for doing something right. Let's do it right. Go back to the paper, put it in the paper once or twice during the week. City of Bowling Green be advertised or accepting bids for vehicles on certain day. That'll take care of it. Local people notified. Any of these people in upstate South Dakota or whatever, if they want to bid, let them find them whatever way they need to find them. But the local people know that cars are going to be bid on, or we're going to accept bids October the 15th, 2013. Simple.
Well, Commissioner, I mean, it may be simple, but one of the primary reasons for the statutory change was to reduce the cost and expense of cities to do this type of advertising. We're not talking about just cars here. If you're talking about newspaper advertising, then you do it for everything, probably, if that's what you want to do. But that was the primary purpose of that statutory change, was reduce the cost of cities to do that. I mean, I'm not in the middle of this one, and I think they're open to looking at, you know, opportunities to get out better notice. But one thing you got to realize, this time there was 2 opportunities. One, you know, they could check the web page, you know, once a week or whatever if they got some on staff to do it. But 2, there was also established a list, you know, a bidders list that they had the opportunity also to apply for, to get on that list. And once the bids were posted, then they were shot an email telling them there's bids out. So they had 2 opportunities. And again, I think city staff is more than, you know, welcome and pleased to go to do other things. And again, this is a policy issue, not a legal issue. I'm just not too sure that advertising in the paper, not anything against the Daily News, but that was expensive, and that's why the General Assembly changed that and allowed us to do something different.
But will we agree that this hasn't worked? If none of our dealers in Bowling Green know, why is it that we always are resistance to change? Oh, it's always been done that way. We're going to do it, you know. Let's agree sometime to say we need to change what we're doing.
But I think the change is we went to the modern change is posting on internets and you know, for example, I mean, I give a prime example. You know, I got rear ended 3 or 4 weeks ago and had to go car hunting. How did I go car hunting? I didn't go to lots. You know, unless I was looking. I went to their webpage and looked at their inventory to see if they had something there I was interested in. Then I went to the lots. I went to Jim Johnson's lot.
Thank you.
But you know, I think the change was done. The change was done to bring us into compliance with what most people are doing nowadays. And again, not to say that we can't do more to get out word to the local, but you know, in this particular case, 2 local dealers were on the automatic notification list. My understanding is one of them didn't open up the bids, one of them did, and still didn't bid. And you know, whatever that reason is, well,
one thing I want to be sure of is that we look at this not just for, we're focusing on vehicles right now. Expand that a little bit. I'm talking about all commodities. And I think that, you know, part of it has to come back on the individual businesses too, that they are ready and willing to go on there and look. But I'm not sure they know about that yet. You know, you say that if you get on the bidders list and you get an email, and that's fine. We need to communicate that process out to the businesses, whether that's televisions, computers, mattresses, I don't care what it is. We need to be letting the local businesses that pay taxes, provide jobs, and support things in this community know that they need to get on this bidders list if they want to sell to the city. And the only thing I'm saying is we've done a poor job of communicating that the process is out there.
And if I may, there are some suggestions that I had provided in the information I gave to you earlier. We had already started a process. We knew that this was a need to go out there and continue to educate, not just locally, but broad, to widen our pool of bidders. And so we do plan, and we were already in the works of putting a display ad together for the local newspaper to let them know of our bidder registration process, to check out our website periodically because we do post bids regularly. And once they are registered, obviously they will get that courtesy notice from us. We'll also be utilizing our social media avenues that are kind of new to us, but we're going to post information on Facebook, our Facebook page. Anytime we do have a bid that goes out, we'll start to tweet that information out. We will also use our Channel 4 bulletin board to, again, explain the process of signing up and getting bid information, and then also to notify of any bids that we have out there. So we are going to expand on that, and we've also had some preliminary talks about anytime a new business signs up, we will share that information with them as well. For existing businesses, there's possibly we can put in a mailer when we send out net profit returns. We're definitely going to make those steps because it has been a little while since we've done this transition, and you're right, we do need to make a better effort of notifying.
Mr. Mosel, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just for clarity, too, I guess a question for Commissioner Denning. I guess I'm assuming you would want us to do this for everything, not just vehicles.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we have processes in place. We only bring things to you guys when it's 25,000 or more. But we have process when it's between 20 and 25. We have a process between 5,000 and 20,000, and so on, where we go out and get quotes and bids. And I guess we need to clarify. We need direction on how far you guys want to take this. Are we just looking at vehicles in particular? Are we looking at pencils and paper? I mean, this could go on and on and on and on. And if we have to notify every time I want to buy something. I got to think, well, who would be interested in this? That's kind of what we're looking at, because when we did the banking bid, we put that out there, and I didn't know what banks were interested, but we put it out there. 18 got on and looked at it, downloaded, and we ended up with 3 bids.
Okay,
so,
but how did you notify those banks?
They knew about it. It was advertised.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They were linked in.
Yeah, it was advertised, right?
On the website.
On the website.
It was posted on the website, and they were registered bidders.
They made an effort to get on our website.
You know, bankers deal with websites and computers on a daily basis. Everybody out there, including car dealerships, they're not on the website looking for Bowling Green, Kentucky, even though they may be in the car business. And, you know, I think we're a little scared to think out of the box. We only think that we are the ones that know it all, and everybody else out there is doing the same thing that we're doing here. And it doesn't work that way. We're familiar with all of this right here that we're talking about. All of us in this area right here and out there are familiar with it. The people out there are not familiar with it. You know, if we got car dealerships, and that's what we're talking about, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, as small as we are, that do not know that we're bidding on police cars tonight, or going to vote on police cars tonight, then something is wrong with the system.
But Joe, wouldn't they be periodically calling Barry up and say, "Hey, y'all got any vehicles
Or
you're going to be
have
buying?"
a person assigned to look at our website?
I get cold calls all the time from people.
And you're right.
And stuff.
You're right. Greenwood Ford used to have Travis, I can't remember his name. His responsibility was to find governments, municipalities that were buying vehicles. Campbell Chevrolet, Ken Johnson.
Yep.
You know,
They're both
he
on the
knows
website.
when the city of Bowling Green or the city of Franklin is going to buy vehicles. Now, you know, I don't know what the others do, but the thing is, in my opinion, we have a responsibility through some format to let those out there. It's to our advantage.
Why don't we do this? Obviously, I don't know that we can make a decision based on thoughts that we have at this moment. Why don't we set this aside for a work session at some point where we can evaluate maybe the best way to proceed, if that's all right with everybody else, and they'll give you time to allow it to prepare for our questions and us to actually review the system and
We
come
do
up from
have
there.
a solution that weaves what everybody's saying here.
Yeah,
We
I understand. You're wanting to do what we want now.
Yeah,
what do we want
I have a
to
solution to it. And
okay. We'll if you would schedule that.
We have 4 for the first meeting in April, so this is going to have to go to the second meeting in April. You already got 4 items on the work session. In May, I'm sorry.
Well, hopefully we'll get good coverage of this from our
Yeah.
reporter here, that the city does have this bid process now, and we just need to bring people's attention to this.
Yes.
Hats off for
conversation
saving
right now
money.
is good.
Hats off. You know, I love that. But people just don't know about it for whatever reason.
But our question tonight on this particular bid is, well, what are we going to do with it? We've heard what the process was. Apparently not everybody in town knew that they could bid on this. Do we want to, it's on the floor, so we've got to vote on it unless we table it. But
And once again, we can vote against it legally. We do not have to accept these.
I think every bid packet, and I'm sure this one said the same thing, it's got the language that says the city always reserves the right to reject any and all bids. The only question is, if you're going to reject it, what are you going to do? You're going to re-advertise and rebid, you're just going to not buy? I guess that's going to be the answer to the question the staff's going to ask, is you reject tonight.
What do we tell the
What's the
people
outcome?
who submitted an honest bid? I mean, that's a cogent question, right? These people in good faith submitted a bid.
Just so.
yes, ma'am.
Does the public know what these amounts are? Would the other dealerships
Do now.
Yes.
These were straight low bids, so when we did the bid opening, these were announced out to the public. Yes.
But if you want to reject it, that's fine. We just wanted a rationale. How do we correct the issue? One way to correct it would be for us to say, we're not going to change the purchaser and purchasee relationship. That would be a problem for us to go out and solicit 10 guys to fix houses. Let's say we don't know there's an 11th guy out there. Is he going to come to you and say, well, you told 10 guys about the bid, but you didn't tell us? That puts the burden on the city, and we're not omniscient. We don't know who's going to provide services. Now, can we do a better job of advertising this process through the internet, which is on the cutting edge? It's not way behind. We're very open to change. This is recommended by the state. We're on the cutting edge of using technology. We need to do a better job to get people to sign up and maximize their self-interest, even if they haven't in the past. We need to maximize that. So do we have justification to not accept these bids,
Well, I don't think we
other
have
than
to
the
have-
blanket?
I don't think we have to have a reason. The bid said that they can
Okay.
be rejected.
What we would do if you want to reject the bids is that we would send out a notice and put notices in the paper that the city uses the website process for all of its purchases. Please do the following formula to get on our website and to ask for it to be on our bidder list, and that would be repeated over, let's say, I don't know, 6-week period, once a week. Jeff, in the net profits or the taxes, send a notice out. We can do put it on Channel 4. We did a little bit of that for a whole year, as Katie said, but as Mr. Williams said, people forget.
Sir?
How long does this set us back on the purchase if we have to go out and rebid?
Well, it depends, probably 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months.
You know, it appears, obviously, that staff has followed policy, and it appears that this is not really a vehicle question, it's a policy issue on behalf of this commission. So I'm not quite sure that I would not be in favor of approving this, and then I don't disagree with what has been said by my colleagues that we need to look into it, and having a work session would be the place to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
I can let of the dealerships that I spoke with today, they are expecting a phone call from me tomorrow. If we kept this open or reopened it for bid, they will be submitting bids. So, just a thought.
Okay. Any other discussion?
We'll do what you want.
I understand.
We felt staff did the right thing based on the policy we have. We feel it's on the cutting edge. It doesn't change the relationship between bidder and biddee, which is a pretty sacred one. We can't get in the process of pushing bids to who we think will bid.
And in fact, probably the internet system gives you more bidders because it gives advertising out there more than just a local paper would. But
And I agree with that. I don't nothing against daily news. I don't mind us using the internet. My complaint is our local businesses did not know, for whatever reason that is. That's what concerns me. Not the whole process, but it's they did not know.
Will it be a hardship if we were to vote this down and to wait a couple months for the purchase of these vehicles? Will it be a hardship on city staff?
We waited tactically for 6 years not to spend money. We can wait another 3 months if that's the will.
What about the police vehicles?
If they're administrative vehicles, we can deal with it. We budgeted this, we're doing this as you asked us to do. And we were following the procedure that we had trained on since 2009. And
make sure everybody understands, and tell me if I'm wrong, none of these are patrol vehicles. These are all admin vehicles.
these are all admin.
These are.
And you won't have a nice car to go to Frankfurt, that's all. Right?
We just won't go.
Won't go, okay.
I've been there.
Okay.
Once is enough.
We want a nice car to get them there, not necessarily get them
Bring them back, right.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe they'll stay.
And when all is said and done, these may end up being the best bids that we get in the future. The only problem that I have is the process, that people were just unaware of the process. And I think we can fix that going
That's a
forward.
valid comment. That is an accurate, valid comment based on the results. But as far as us not being on the cutting edge or doing anything wrong, I think Marilyn, for example, our new purchasing person, does an excellent job.
Yeah, I do too.
This is no reflection on.
But she was we were all following protocol and following what the state law is.
Okay. Everybody finished?
Do you have a vote or?
We're going to vote.
Okay.
And let's vote now.
Waltrip?
No.
Williams?
No.
Denning?
No.
Hill?
No.
Wilkerson?
No. So we'll do what the suggestion was made. And
We're going to start the process of advertising our website. We've already contacted Katie about a story. The other Katie here is working with Kim to put stuff in the paper. And we have to use the internet. It is the most efficient, cost-saving way. They just need to know about it more.
Kevin, might I also suggest
Yes.
we have a very active and productive Chamber of Commerce here, and perhaps they could send a notice out to their entire membership, and that would cover a lot of these local businesses to just give them that process and let them get the word out.
Okay, I'll talk to Ron.
The chamber is a registered bidder on our site. They are not actually signed up to receive any specific bids, but we can certainly talk to them and see if they'd like to get that information, so that they'll be aware of all bids that come out.
Well, they could just help us promote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
promote
a
the
great
registration
idea.
part.
Yes, we got to use the internet, and it keeps the arm's length relationship.
Yes.
I think that's critical.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
That was good discussion.
Thank you. Next item is Municipal Order 2013-60.
Municipal order authorizing the continuation of a contract with Mountjoy Chilton Medley PLC to provide external audit services for an additional year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Denning and second by Waltrip. Mr. Fibbo.
Mayor and Commissioner, we have the audit committee that oversees the contract with our external auditor. We have under a bid previously a 5-year agreement with 1-year renewals. We're here tonight based on the recommendation of the audit committee to ask you to renew Mountjoy, Chilton, and Medley's external contract for another year. The price has been pre-negotiated from day one of $80,000. Deborah Jenkins is here if you have any questions carrying the recommendation of the audit committee.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Denning, you're on that committee.
No, sir. Deborah does an outstanding job in keeping us informed and as well as making us toe the line. So she
All
does
right.
a great job.
All right, please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013, number 7.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning 2 tracts of land containing 2.63 acres from RM4 multifamily residential and P public to PUD planned unit development located at Kentucky Street, Alumni Avenue, 13th Avenue, and an alley, presently owned by WKU Student Life Foundation Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Mr. DeFebo.
Yeah, I would ask Steve Hunter to come forward if you have any questions. If not, I think the ordinance is self-explanatory.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hunter? He waited this long.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, we should ask him something. No.
Have a good day today, Steve. Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. And that's the last item on the regular agenda. We'll be going into closed session. There'll be no decisions made or announced. So thank you for tuning in.